Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Kaveri Seed Company Limited Q2 and H1 FY22 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference, please signal an operator by pressing star and then 0 on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Rishabh Barar from CDR India. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Kaveri Seed Company Limited Q2 and H1 FY22 earnings conference call. We have with us today Mr. Mithun Chand, the Executive Director. Before we begin, I would like to point out that certain statements made or discussed on the conference call today may be forward-looking in nature and must be viewed in conjunction with the risks that the company faces. The company does not undertake to update them. A statement in this regard is available for reference in the presentation. We will begin the call with opening remarks from Mr. Mithun Chand, who will address updates on the market environment and take you through the strategic imperatives of the company. We will then have the forum open for an interactive question and answer session. I would now like to invite Mr. Mithun Chand to share his views. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rishabh. Good day, everyone, and a warm welcome to Kaveri Seed Company Limited Q2 and first half 22 results conference call. I hope that all of you are safe and healthy with this pandemic. I will touch upon our financial performance for the quarter under review, post which I will go through the half-yearly numbers. During the quarter under review, net sales stood at 147.56 crores as against rupees 134.02 crores in Q2 FY21, an increase of 10.11%. EBITDA stood at 21.56 crores for Q2 financial year 22 versus 27.12 crore in Q2 21. PAT stood at 12.83 crores versus 23.40 crores in Q2 21. During the half year under review, net sales stood at 777.34 crores against rupees 853.5 crores in first half 21. EBITDA stood at 236.27 crores versus for first half 22 versus rupees 337.58 crore in first half 21. PAT stood at 217.57 crores versus 319.82 crore in first half 21. The Board of Directors has approved the payment of interim dividend at 200%, that is 4 rupees per equity share of rupees 2 each on the profits of the company for the financial year 21-22 on the equity share capital of the company. This translates to a total cash payout of rupees 23.39 crore. Total cash on books as on September 30, 2021 remains at 374 crore. Moving on to our business highlights. Cotton continues to face significant challenges. HPPT or illegal cotton occupied about 18 to 20% of the cotton area, thus impacting overall branded seed market. Lower incidence of pink bollworm, however, offered some relief and resulted in good quality cotton. Maize acreages have seen a good improvement in AP, Telangana and Karnataka states, where Kaveri enjoys a high market value. We also registered a strong growth in rice. Continuous rainfall in Q2 across all major states had vegetable sowing, impacting vegetable seed business significantly across industry. Coming to crop-wise performance, in first half 22 volumes in first half 22 are down by about 24.60% and revenue by 26.53%. Gained cotton seed market share in Gujarat and Haryana, lost in AP, Telangana and Karnataka and Maharashtra. Non-cotton business is up 11.49%. Revenue growth is driven by volume growth in rice, new products in hybrid rice and selection rice, and price increase in led hybrids across crops. Maize volumes have decreased by 30% and revenue by around 19%. Strong improvement in contribution from new products are from 40 metric tons to 500 metric tons year on year. KMH 8322 and KMH 8333 are the two key contributors to performance. Contribution of new products has gone up significantly from 8.85% to 23.59%. Hybrid rice revenue grew by 44.35% in first half 22. Selection rice revenue grew by 15.6% in first half 22. Revenue grew by 15.6% in first half 22. Our endeavor will be to continue to grow our non-cotton business. In line with this, we continue to strengthen our R&D and infrastructure to deliver quality and value to the farmer. Our R&D strengths are visible in the form of several new products in rice, maize, and vegetables. Concurrently, we continue to explore viable organic and inorganic opportunities and will return excess cash to shareholders. We are happy with our performance during the quarter, keeping in mind the challenging macro environment. We look forward to improving performance going forward. Now we will open the floor for the question answers.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who has a question may enter star and 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Our first question is from the line of Nitin Awasthi from InCred Equities. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. My first question was regarding the new scheme which is being followed for approval of GMO crops in India. So what we are given to understand is that now the state government, a particular state government needs to approve the GM crop before the GEAC approves it or considers it. And so could you just shed some light on this? How does this scheme work, and have we applied to almost all the states with all our crops, or how are we going about it?
So as of now, we have GMO approved only in cotton, and that's in BG2. So most of the hybrids which we are selling are approved and with no more further permissions are required to take from the state governments. Yeah, when coming down to the new technology, it's not yet finalized yet. Once it's finalized, then we need to follow the procedure given by the government, but it's too early to comment upon it.
Because news articles have been pointing out that Rallis has already applied for BT corn and BT cotton in Karnataka. That's why I asked this question.
BT corn is not approved by government at all. That's an edible crop and it needs to be a central government discussion. So nothing is approved yet as of now.
Okay. Okay, so noted. And we had, even in the last con call, stated that we are looking out for acquisitions. And during the last quarter, there was actually Bayer sold off its seed portfolio to Crystal Crop. Was that an acquisition we were eyeing? And if that was the one we were eyeing, then are there no major portfolios for sale out there, or are there still, portfolios for sale out there and we are still trying to eye and get them?
So we are trying different options in that. That's not the only way to grow. We said that we are exploring the options. We are not finalized yet. We are open for it. That's what we meant to say.
Okay. Okay, sir. So last question from my side. How much of the maize business comes from the government side, and how much of it did not come through during this quarter?
The business what we lost now is majority the volumes what we lost, like the 25-30% of the revenues basically from the government revenues only, the government volume only. Otherwise, in the trade business, what we sell directly to the farmers or through distributors, we are increasing our market shares in most of the states.
Which state government was this business lost from?
Basically in the central and northern India, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Rajasthan. These are the state governments, some parts in Chhattisgarh also. These are the governments where we usually get bulk sales and subsidy in the Kharif part. That we couldn't get this year because of the pandemic. The government couldn't call for any tenders.
Noted, sir. Thank you, sir. That's all from my side.
Thank you. A reminder to our participants, if you wish to ask a question, you may enter star and 1. Our next question is from the line of Abhijit Akella from IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon, Mithun. Thanks for the opportunity. Just on that maize question again, so, could you just help us understand how much was the government tender business in totality, say last year? Maybe FY21 overall or 1H of FY21 first half. And what has it fallen to this year, and what should we expect going forward? Should we assume that there are no government tenders that come in the future in maize or any other crops?
Basically, if you see most of the states, even what we sell maize in Karnataka and Andhra, to some extent are through subsidies, are through government bodies itself. But we don't have direct subsidy from the government. We get a very minimum subsidy, that is 5 rupees or 10 rupees a kg from the government, that we don't consider a major subsidy. And we directly sell it to the farmer. Whereas in states of MP, Maharashtra, Rajasthan and some parts of central and northern India, they call for a one-time tender to supply it. And usually that tender we get in the month of June to August. Basically that's for the first quarter sale. First and some spillover in the second quarter. That business we couldn't get it. That overall that turned out to something close to 2,000, 2,300 tons. The revenue what we lost, that like 2,500 tons of sale in maize, is basically from those tenders. And usually we don't bank on those tenders because there's a lot of uncertainty in that. But whereas if you see the trade business, which we do in Maharashtra, which we do in Andhra, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and second half of the business are basically through trade, and we are gaining market share in that.
Okay, so just to clarify, last year we had 8,500 tons of maize sales in the first half. This year we have 5,900. So the decline is about 2,500 odd tons. All of that is basically the government.
Majority, more than 2,000 plus tons, 2,200 tons is from subsidy sale, and some 2,300 tons is across states, and basically the second half, that is from Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, the sales are down, and the Tamil Nadu is a very small portion.
Okay. So point number one, now in the second half, we should have an okay Rabi season for corn. I know acreages are not up, and maybe farmers are preferring oil seeds over maize. But question number one was how is the outlook for Rabi corn? And then number two, next year's Kharif season, this government tender business we should assume won't be there, right? So at least the base will be easy for next year's Kharif.
Yeah, this if you rightly said, this should be a base. And every time before the base what we are calculating, and every time we don't consider this as a normal business. There's a one-time business which we get, but usually what we are getting the 2,000, 2,500 tons is there for last 6-7 years. Even though it's a one-time sale, but most of the governments, one or the other government give, and we were getting the 2,000 tons of sale. This time they couldn't call, and the entire 2,000 tons got almost zero sales. But if you take the second half of the Rabi, even though there's an inclination toward the oil seed, the maize prices are slightly better than last year, and the last year base was very small because in second half of last year, entire Bihar was down. But by considering the second half base, definitely we should do better in second half of this year in terms of maize.
Okay, understood. Sorry, just one last thing on this maize point. One is the margin on the government tender business, lower than your retail margin? And number two, is this year's absence of government tenders because of COVID, and therefore next year once COVID, impact goes away, we can expect some tenders to come back?
Yeah, definitely. Usually, they were supposed to take out the tenders, and they just delayed the process and the season got delayed. Usually, they encourage maize acreages in this area. And the maize acreages are also significantly down because of the non-calling of tenders by the governments. But I think definitely, we can't guarantee that. Most probability is that the tenders business should come back. But as a calculation purpose, it's always better to take the base of this year as a normal sale, which is a guaranteed sale and which can actually see plus or minus of the sale based on the trade.
Yeah, and the margin on that?
Margins are slightly down when compared to the normal trade, but when you sell the seed, all the other expenses being same, you get a better margin in that. But if you calculate on only that volume-based tender business, the volumes are much lower. And even this year, we had a high return sale return, even in the first quarter and the second quarter, because most of the stock we couldn't sell it, and even the businesses, even tender businesses, we stopped the sale in the other parts of India. Even that got returned back, and we had a huge inventory write-off also. That's also included in the results. And that's what we mentioned in the first quarter also.
Okay, understood. Got it. Just one last thing and I'll get back in the queue. The subsidiary company revenues seem to be up quite significantly this quarter. The way I arrive at it is by doing consolidated minus standalone. So, any reasons for that specifically?
See, this time most of the cotton seed more in the unbranded segment. Being that an unbranded segment, the sale was high, but if you see the margins were lower.
Okay.
Basically, in subsidiary we sell cotton. Cotton is a major component in subsidiaries.
Yes, right. I got that. Okay, thank you so much. I'll come back in the queue for any more.
Thank you. Before we take our next question, we would like to remind participants to ask a question. You may enter star and 1. Our next question is from the line of Sarvesh Gupta from Maximal Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. My first question is, I think we also had some plans of...
Sorry to interrupt. Mr. Gupta, if you're on a speaker mode or hands-free mode, can you please switch to handset? We can't hear you clearly.
So, on HDPT...
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
Mr. Sarvesh Gupta, we can't hear you clearly, sir.
Are you able to hear me now?
No, sir, your voice is breaking up.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Sir, I was asking that earlier we also had some plans on HDPT varieties. So, do we have any product in that space given that there is some market movement?
Your voice is breaking, Suresh, but anyhow, I got some of your question. We were never there in HDPT because it's not approved by the government. It's all an illegal BT. What we said earlier, if I recollect what we said, that if the government approves HDPT, we will also be in line for applying it. But as of now, it's not officially approved and we are not there in HDPT. We never put any HDPT in our history.
Okay. So, but do you see this trend sort of, on illegal cotton, etc., normalizing next year, or because of the COVID we got impacted this year? So, do you have any sense of how things should play out in the coming years?
Usually the HDPT popularity is picking up, but this year most of the HDPT has affected a lot in terms of the performance. the performance was very minimal and the farmer got affected at large. So what we see is that what the industry feels is that the HTBT will not move in the way how it moved in the last year, but still we need to see for next 3 months and then arrive at a conclusion because it's still at the harvesting stage.
Understood. And sir, any thoughts on like maize for us hasn't really grown at a very rapid pace, even though it is at a small scale. In the last few years, if we see that performance has not been of a very high growth. I mean, primarily your non-cotton portfolio is growing because of rice. So any thoughts on how that particular segment can perform? Because you always give a guidance about non-cotton performance, but that is basically hybrid rice. But our performance in maize has not been that of high growth, and other segments are still very small. So when we say non-cotton, it becomes basically just the hybrid rice, more or less. So how do we see growth in that side, and what steps do we need to take to sort of, increase the growth rate in that particular segment?
Rightly pointed out, maize is not growing as such in what we have anticipated in the last 5-6 years. It remains stable or in a sideways of 5 to 10% plus or minus based on the rainfall and the other competitive crop commodity prices. But if you see maize outlook for on a long-term basis, as the government is also proposing for the ethanol plants which require maize as a major input, by what we see and the maize prices stabilizing now, what we see is that maize has got a very good future going forward, and it will definitely grow in the coming years. And the industry feels that maize can grow at more than 10 to 12% as an average for the next 5 to 10 years compoundedly on a long-term basis, living apart a here and there. But we see a good future for the maize. Not in the non-cotton segment, not only maize, all the crops are growing. Rice is growing, maize will grow, vegetable crops, which is a major contributor, which has grown in a good comparison with the base. Even we see a good growth in vegetables. And we are trying to add some more oil seeds also for us, not in this year, but I'm talking about 5 to 10 year view. These are the crops which will definitely fuel the growth going forward. And what we have stated earlier, non-cotton segment will definitely grow at much faster pace than the cotton. And if you see our guidance, if you go back to 3-4 years back, we were saying that our non-cotton portfolio will be more than 60% of that, which we have achieved right now. And still going forward, non-cotton will contribute much faster pace than the cotton, even at this base.
Understood. And any guidance for the cotton portfolio for next year, sir, given the rapid increase in the price of cotton that we have seen, as well as the low base effect of this year?
This year we have seen a huge rise in the commodity price of cotton, and the output is low when compared to the previous year. As I suggested that this time, as I indicated earlier, because most of that moved to HTBT, the performance was not that good with the HTBT hybrids and even with the erratic monsoon. So what we see, the initial feel is like the cotton acreages will go up next year. But anyhow, as I said, we will take another 2 or 3 months to get a clear view on it. But right now, the positivity is good for the cotton. And even the maize price are sitting at 17 to 18 rupees, which is a good price for the farmers. And all the vegetable prices are also up. So most of the crops look good with the present prices, but down the line in the month of the next, in the next con call for the next quarter result, we'll have some sort of a fair bit of idea how the acreages might move for the next year.
Understood, sir. All the best, sir, for the coming quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a next question from the line of Sumant Kumar from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Mitul. So my question is related, we are seeing that textile industry is growing at faster pace, and we need a higher cotton post the Xinjiang ban, and still we are struggling in yield side. The cotton yield is still stagnated. So what are the challenges overall cotton seeds industry is facing to take approval of BG3 and other cotton seeds, what we are working, so India cotton production is likely to increase from here.
There are basically 2 points in this. One is the overall acreages in India, and second is the introduction of the new technology in cotton. Coming to the first point, in India, the cotton acreages were coming down in the last 5-6 years on a year-on-year basis because the cotton prices remained slightly downside, or the yield of the cotton was not that attractive because of the pink bollworm. This year, the prices are up, the quality of the cotton is good, but the yields are very low. And as of now, the farmers' inclination towards cotton might go up, and some states like even Telangana now promoting cotton for the next year because they are discouraging rice. So that gives us some sort of positivity for the cotton crop. And the other point is regarding the technology. Technology takes time because the central government need to approve it, and after approving it takes at least 2 to 3 years to get into the market. Minimum time is 2 to 3 years, but it will take much more time. So technology we will not touch upon now because once approval, we can't say when it will be approved. Once it gets approved, then we can talk about the technology. But in the short-term basis, in a year or two, cotton looks good as of now. But anyhow, we'll get to know clear clarity in the next call.
So what is the issue? Because the overall SDBT and illegal cotton is already reached the 18-20%, and if the government is not going to allow, it might have a higher market share also, and seeds industry is going to lose.
Yeah, that's what I explained earlier.
What the other company, all the companies like you are doing and approaching the government, because it's going to hurt the overall farmer economics also. If we are buying illegal seeds, there is no the quality seeds, the yield is going to decline, and we need a higher cotton going forward. If the government is promoting higher textile export, so we need to rectify this issue. So have you talked to the government? Is the industry association is talking to the government?
It's a continuous effort what we are doing, but not for the last 5-7 years. Minimum 5-7 years after the introduction of second BG2, we are continuously following up with the government, and government is also watching very closely. There are many other related issues. It's just not about cotton and giving the technology, which government is looking into, and they are working a model for that. And most of the technology providers and as the industry both are representing government, and even the government body is working with the seed industry and the technology providers to get for the solution. But we are awaiting for that. Once we get a solution, definitely we'll let you know.
Is the royalty a major issue?
Now the royalty is zero now.
No, I'm talking about for the new technology, new chemistry, new technology. Is the royalty the issue?
So royalty might be one part, but it's not a major issue. But there are other issues which related to technology and biodiversity.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll take a next question from the line of Varun Bang from Reliance PMS. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. So we've seen significant drop in revenue share from new products in cotton segment. And this year we understand this is because of the SDBT issue. But structurally, how are we looking to create stickiness around some of these products which are supposedly better? And what is the long-term potential there?
So definitely the cotton acreages are going to improve the branded seeds. These are the new products which will take the market share. But this year, as we said, because of the HTBT going up and the COVID conditions and the negative and not a good sentiment for the cotton crop, has resulted in the downfall of some products. But if you see a longer term, if this all stabilizes, definitely these are the products which we are going to market going forward. It's a temporary basis, and we don't see it as a serious or a major concerning issue for us in terms of the cotton growth.
But how are we looking to create farmer stickiness around these products? What is the strategy?
Basically, in terms of the the products need to perform, then only the farmer will pick up. And the products are really doing well, and it has performed well in the previous years also. So this is the only year where we have lost market share, not because of the performance, because of the other issues. That's the reason I said we are pretty confident that these are the products going forward. We will definitely have a good growth in the coming year.
All right. And in maize and rice segment also, I mean, some of the new launches are doing extremely well. So do you think the revenue share from these new launches we will maintain? The growth what we are maintaining for last 1-2 years. Do you think we'll be able to maintain that?
Definitely, the products which are doing well will definitely be the sales revenue will definitely go up in those areas. Apart from that, also there are many hybrids which are in the pipeline, which are in the initial stages. So we have got very good pipeline in most of the crops that will definitely result in good revenues coming forward.
Sure. Thank
Not only in maize and rice, even in vegetables and bajra, we are doing extremely well in terms of the pipeline.
Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Anurag Jain, shareholder. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. My first question is, how much of the buyback expenses have been booked in the second quarter?
I just need to check that one out, but majority of that was completed in the quarter one, and few lakh shares, 2 or 3 lakh shares got completed in the first week or second week of October, and that we have already intimated to the exchanges the amount of shares what we bought on a daily basis.
So my question was like the other expenses have gone up significantly, so they would have a one-time element of buyback expenses. So how much was that figure of buyback expenses in the other expenses?
I don't think buyback expenses have come in the other expenses. That's a different thing.
Okay, sir. And my second question was, I'm sorry, this point is being asked again and again. The illegal HTBt cotton. Do we know how does the economics for the illegal HTBt cotton work out for the farmer? Like, what is the difference in the seed cost? What is the difference in other expenses for the farmer, and what is the difference in the yield? Do we know this, or we will know this only after when the harvest is completed?
So one thing, the difference in the seed cost, because we are basically into the seed business, the difference in the seed what we sell or the branded company sell and the HTBt, per packet it only varies between 150 to 200 rupees, not more than that. So that's not a major cost for the farmer. But what we need to see is that the quality of the hybrid, because technology is not the only one which gives the yield. It only protects the yield. The hybrid need to have a potential to give yield. So if you see this year hybrid, most of the hybrids are lagging in terms of the productivity.
Okay.
So that's the reason the yields are lower. Now the farmer is understanding that. But as I said, we need to wait for another 3 or 4 months to see at least the initial view about the HTBt coming forward. But as of now, it doesn't look great at this point of time for the HTBt for the next year.
Okay. Sir, when you say the difference is 150 to 200 rupees, how much does this translate in percentage terms?
So the seed cost is like 750 rupees a packet, they get at 500, 550. So in terms, that is a 20%, but on what base? As a farmer, it spends more than 15 to 20,000 rupees per acre. And spending 100 and 200 rupees for a good seed doesn't matter much. In terms of that percentage, negligible. It's a 0.5% on the total cost.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Nishit Shah from Aequitas Capital Investments. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I want to understand what is our R&D spend target for the year and for next year as well.
See, year on year, we are increasing by more than 20-25% and on the absolute terms in R&D. So that will continue for the couple of years because we had many people in R&D and there are many new hybrids, many new technologies which we are adding because we have added biotechnology lab last year. Now we are setting a new R&D plant. So if you see in that percentage, well, it should be on a year-on basis, it should be more than 40-50% now for the next 2 years.
In absolute term, what is our target for this year?
That depends because we are constructing a R&D plan based on the completion of that we need to see. For the new R&D plant, what we are constructing now, it is coming up to 35-40 crores. But that will be spread over a span of 1.5 years time. Some will come in this year and some will come in next year.
Okay. And sir, in terms of crops, for this R&D, what are we targeting for next 3-5 years?
Basically, the crop what we have now, and apart from that, we are concentrating on the oil seeds, basically mustard, and we are working on soya also now. Apart from that, we are strengthening our existing portfolio, basically in terms of vegetables, rice, sunflower, bajra, and all of the crops what we deal with. Apart from that, we are trying to say that we are adding new crops in terms of the oil seeds.
Okay. Got it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Ghanshyam Gupta, an individual investor. Please go ahead. Mr. Ghanshyam Gupta, could you please unmute your line and go ahead with your question?
Yes, my question is relating to the impact of bad debt in the profitability. How much provision has been made for bad debt?
Sorry? I missed your question.
How much provision has been made for the bad debts?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. How much? Can you please repeat your question?
How much provision has been made for bad debts? It is stated in your press release that the net profit was lower due to provision of bad debts on government sales in 2020. So what is the amount?
So you're talking about the bad debt?
Yes.
So the bad debt
provision for bad debts.
First quarter, not much has been added in the second quarter. In fact, we got 2 or 3 crores from what we have provided in the previous year.
And my second question is as of today, whether the entire provision has been made. As of today?
Yeah, the provision is made as on today, and as a company policy, anything more than 2 years will automatically come down to the provision for bad debts. That's what I'm saying. Compared to previous quarter to this quarter, there's an addition. I mean to say there's a reduction in the bad debts.
Okay, thank you.
Some portion in 2 or 3 crores of money we got 2 or 3 crores of money.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So the first question is in terms of our Rabi portfolio. So over the next 5 years, how do we look at expanding the portfolio? Because of the cotton concentration, certainly we have been Kharif driven. But maybe 5 years down the line, do we have a meaningful size of 2H revenues which will come? So what will be the split of maybe H1 and H2 revenues we are looking at from a consistency perspective? Thank you.
In terms of the percentage, if you divide in terms of the first half and second half sale, it should remain in the same manner or slightly better in the from the compared position now. But it should more or less look the same because majority of the Indian crops comes in the Kharif. It's not only cotton, but when you talk about rice, hybrid rice, majority of the rice, 90% of the rice comes in the first half. And even maize, Kharif, entire Kharif is in maize. Bajra comes in the first half. So the percentage should remain same. It will not change significantly. But as an absolute term, year on year, it will have a minimum of 15 to 20% variation on a year on year basis. But as a percentage, it should remain same or slightly higher.
Right, so got it. So the second question in terms of the exports market. So I think we have been trying to explore the opportunity. We've been seeding the market. How is the progress over there and any meaningful revenue contribution which will come in the next 2-3 years, or we are looking some kind of a positive green shoots for that particular area? Thank you.
Basically, in terms of the exports, we couldn't show much of a difference in terms of the sales compared to in the last 2 to 3 years because of many reasons. Might be COVID or might be some other government-related issues in different states, different countries. But in terms of the performance, in terms of the prospects, if you see, Export is definitely an area where we are very much confident about, and we'll be definitely doing it. And even in the Indian government is also encouraging exports. Down the line, export will definitely be a good contributor for the revenues.
Right, sir. Thank you so much and best of luck, sir.
Thank you. Our next question is a follow-up from the line of Abhijit Akella from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. One is just, could you just broadly give us what percent of EBITDA in 1H has come from cotton? Just so that to see, how low it has gone now.
I need to check that one, but definitely lower than last year. Because not only in terms of the cotton, EBITDA remains same when compared to previous years in terms of the cotton. But being revenue low, all the fixed expenses have impacted the EBITDA of all crops. That's the reason we are seeing that.
Would it be fair to conclude that maybe cotton EBITDA is less than 15% of company EBITDA now this year?
Yeah. See, as the EBITDAs are lower in most of the crops, if you see the EBITDA percentage as a whole is lower, definitely that will even drag the cotton EBITDA also.
Okay, thanks. And the second one was, the illegal cotton seeds, HTBT, those are being sold for a premium to what the branded seeds are sold for, right?
Not really. There are very few areas where they were not available, but otherwise it is much lower than the branded seeds.
I see. Okay, got it. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. Our next question is a follow-up from the line of Anurag Jain, an individual shareholder. Please go ahead. Mr. Jain, can you please unmute your line and go ahead with your question?
I'm sorry. Good afternoon, sir. My question relates to what in this year first half vis-a-vis the first half last year. What is the difference in sales returns? What is the sales returns this year in first half vis-a-vis the first half of last year?
Last year the sales return was less than 15 or 17%. This year it's close to 28-30%.
Okay. So most of the majority of the decline in sales can be because of sales return.
Sales return and the other expenses being same, that has impacted the EBITDA margins because the revenues are down by more than 15-20% compared to previous year. And most of the cotton got returned from the market. Maize got returned. So these are the tools which have eaten away our margins, and the write-offs are also higher because when the seeds are returned to the factory, it loses its germination. Some seeds loses its germination vigor. So usually we have higher the sales return, higher the write-offs. Even that has impacted the EBITDA margins because that is already reflected in the cost.
Okay, sir. And sir, my understanding is that cotton seed can be sold next year also, but the maize seed, if whatever is returned is destroyed or is basically goes waste.
Yeah, majority. If you see in terms of the percentage of the wastages, majority of that we incur in maize and in non-cotton crops, you can say.
Okay. Thank you.
Even in paddy we lose, not hybrid paddy, but the research of the selection paddy, even that we lose once it come back. But we'll have a minimum loss in that, but the majority of the loss will be in terms of the maize.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That was the last question. I would now like to hand the conference back to Mr. Mithun Chand for closing comments.
Hi. Thanks for your participation, and for any further inquiries or questions, you can contact our investor desk. We'll be happy to answer that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Kaveri Seed Company Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.